Some are not content with simply modifying their appearance. They want to become something else, an animal, a character, a creature that does not yet exist. Today, 7 people who have pushed the transformation of the human body to its most absolute limits. Hold on, it's starting off strong. Number 7. Genya Bolotov, the Platypus Man. A platypus is already one of the strangest animals in nature. A mammal that lays eggs, detects electric fields, and has a duck's bill on a beaver's body. Nature took liberties with it. Genya Bolotov, for his part, took liberties with his own face. This man, nicknamed the Platypus Man, decided to dedicate his body to a transformation inspired by this improbable animal. Through extreme and gradual stretching of his lips and nose, a technique close to body stretching pushed to rarely seen levels, he managed to give his mouth and face a shape that undeniably evokes the characteristic bill of the platypus. This type of transformation doesn't rely solely on surgery. It requires years of gradual tissue manipulation, repeated stretching, insertions of materials, patience, and a tolerance for pain that far exceeds what most people can imagine. The body resists. Tissues pull back towards their natural shape. You have to start again, over and over. What's intriguing about Genya's choice is the animal he selected. Not a wolf, not a lion, not a powerful predator that popular imagery associates with strength or mystery. A platypus, a gentle, discreet creature, biologically unclassifiable. Perhaps there's a message there, or perhaps it's simply a personal obsession as singular as the animal that inspired it. What is certain is that Genya Bolotov did not transform his face to please the world. He transformed it for himself. And in that radical freedom, there is something we cannot completely ignore. Number 6. Richie the Barber. By day, he cuts hair. He receives clients, runs his shop, practices his trade with the care expected of a professional. And then there's his face. Richie the Barber has undertaken a facial transformation that combines subcutaneous implants, facial tattoos, and various modifications to create something that is both monkey and evil clown, an appearance designed to provoke an immediate, instinctive reaction hard to ignore. The implants have altered the relief of his face, forehead, cheekbones, jaw, creating bumps and protrusions that give his features a non-human geography. Tattoos then covered this modified topography with patterns that accentuate the monstrous effect he was aiming for. What is particularly interesting in his case is the tension between his 2 public identities. On one hand, a barber, a job involving contact, trust, intimacy with clients. On the other, a face designed to disturb. How do his clients react? Some come specifically for him. Others discover his transformation at their first appointment and have to decide whether to stay. This coexistence between the professional and the transformed says something interesting about our era. An era where extreme body modifications are beginning to coexist with ordinary life, whether we like it or not. Richie is not trying to resemble an existing animal. He is seeking something else, a hybrid creature somewhere between human and nightmare, between reality and a horror cartoon. He built this face deliberately, intervention after intervention, choice after choice. And every morning, this is the face he takes to work, scissors in hand. Number 5. Horace Riddler, the Zebra Man. Before social media, before body modification reality TV shows, before the concept of extreme transformation even existed in the popular vocabulary, there was Horace Riddler. It's the early 20th century. Horace is a former British officer who decides to redirect his life towards the circus. His decision, to have his entire body tattooed with thick, regular black stripes, covering every centimeter of skin, face included, to look like a zebra. At a time when tattooing was still largely associated with sailors and criminals, and covering one's face with ink was an irreversible and socially radical act, Horace chose to go all the way. Completely. Without sparing any area. He became a star of the British and American circus and fair circuits, performing under the name The Great Omi, the Zebra Man. Thousands of people paid to see him. His striped silhouette was instantly recognizable, his stage presence magnetic. What is striking, when you place his story in its historical context, is the courage this transformation represented. although hundreds of hours of painful tattooing deserve mention, but socially. To tattoo his face like that in 1920 meant accepting never being able to reintegrate conventional society again. It was a one-way ticket, absolutely final. Horace Riddler didn't have the internet to find a community, no tribe of modified people to validate his choice, just a decision made alone and owned until his death. He died in 1969, completely striped, completely himself. A pioneer whom today's transformed individuals don't cite often enough. Number 4. Toko, the Kali Man, Japan. All the transformations in this top involve needles, scalpels, ink, or implants. Toko's involves none of that. And yet, it might be the most bewildering of all. Toko is a Japanese man who spent around 14,000 euros to have a dog costume made, a border collie to be precise, by a Japanese company specializing in special effects and ultra-realistic prosthetics. The result is disturbingly precise. Natural-looking fur, faithful proportions, anatomical details so meticulous that the line between costume and real animal is hard to discern at first glance. What sets Toko apart from the other cases in this top is that his transformation isn't permanent. He can take it off. He can become human again at will. And yet, he chose to invest a considerable sum to live for as long as he wears his costume, as a dog. He films himself walking on all fours, retrieving a ball, interacting with real people who, in some videos, don't immediately realize they're dealing with a human being in disguise. Japan has a particular relationship with what are called fursonas and identity transformation cultures, a cultural tradition where identifying with an animal or non-human character is more normalized than in the West. Toko fits into this tradition, pushing it to a level of realism that makes it accessible even to the uninitiated. But the real question his case raises is philosophical. What is a transformation? Does it have to be permanent to be real? Or is it enough to choose every day to be something other than what you are? Toko might be pondering that question while barking. Number 3. Ted Richards, Parrotman. He had parrots, then he got more. Then even more, his birds became his passion, his obsession, the center of his entire life. And one day, Ted Richards decided to look like them. This Briton undertook one of the most radical facial transformations ever documented, taking as his aesthetic reference the vibrant colors and features of his beloved parrots. Multicolored tattoos covered his entire face, greens, yellows, reds, blues, reproducing the dazzling plumages of his birds onto his own skin. Then he went further. He had his eyeballs tattooed, an extremely risky procedure, done by injecting ink directly into the sclera, which can cause permanent vision loss and is legally performed in very few countries. His eyes are now an unnatural, intensified color that accentuates the avian effect of his transformation. And finally, the detail that shocked the public the most? He had both his ears removed. Surgically. Completely. Because parrots don't have them. Ted Richards didn't try to look like a specific parrot. He sought to embody the essence of these birds, their color, their strangeness, their visual freedom. Each modification was one more step in that direction. What's striking in his testimony is the absence of regret. He speaks of his birds with genuine tenderness. He speaks of his transformations with the serenity of someone who simply did what seemed right to him, without seeking approval, without waiting for validation. Ted Richards has parrots. And now, in a certain way, he is one. Number 2. Jocelyn Wildenstein, the Catwoman. She often defended herself against it. She denied, downplayed, reinterpreted. But the images speak for themselves. And the whole world gave her a nickname that no press release can erase. The Catwoman. Jocelyn Wildenstein is a Franco-American socialite who underwent over decades a number of cosmetic surgeries estimated at several dozen procedures. Facelifts, cheekbone implants, injections, successive remodeling of the eyelids and lips. Each operation gradually altering features that, at a certain point, stopped resembling an ordinary human face and began to evoke something feline, stretched, artificially taut. The most frequently cited story to explain her transformation is that of her husband, a billionaire passionate about felines and safaris, whom she supposedly wanted to seduce or retain by progressively adopting the features of the big cats he so admired. A romantic and dramatic theory that Jocelyn always refuted. Whatever the truth, the result is there. What makes her case so particular in the history of extreme transformations is that each intervention, taken in isolation, fell under standard cosmetic surgery. No provocative subcutaneous implants, no facial tattoos, just classic procedures, repeated and accumulated until producing a result that no one had anticipated, or that some might have very precisely aimed for. Jocelyn Wildenstein's transformation raises a question that aesthetic medicine still avoids too often. At what point does a surgeon have the responsibility to say no? When does the accumulation of normal procedures produce a result that is no longer normal? She became an involuntary icon, and her face a question without a simple answer. Number 1, Tom Leppard, Leopard Man. He didn't do it to be famous. He didn't do it for social media, for magazines, for television shows. He did it, and then he went to live alone in the woods. Tom Leppard, a former British soldier, covered 99.9% of his body with tattoos reproducing the spots of a leopard. Creamy yellow background, black spots with precise outlines. The pattern extends over every centimeter of skin, face included, leaving almost none of the natural skin visible. For years, the Guinness Book of Records recognized him as the world's most tattooed man. But what sets Tom Leppard apart from all the other transformed individuals in this top is what he did afterwards. He bought a hut on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. He settled there alone, without running water, without electricity, without connection to the outside world. He would kayak across the loch to go grocery shopping in town once a week, and he would return home, to his forest, to his chosen solitude. He didn't transform his body to exist in the eyes of others. He transformed his body because it was what he wanted, and then he disappeared from public life as simply as he had appeared in it. At over 70 years old, health problems forced him to leave his hut for a nursing home. He accepted this transition with the same serenity with which he had accepted isolation. Tom Leppard is number 1 in this top, not because his transformation is the most extreme visually, but because he was the only one who had absolutely nothing to prove to anyone. And that, perhaps, is the rarest form of freedom there is. Before finishing, I wanted to share an incredible image with you. It was sent to me recently by a channel subscriber, so a huge thank you to him for sharing. Take a look at this thumbnail. It shows a transformation that seems straight out of a horror movie or a clandestine laboratory. The face is merged with porcine attributes, especially this hyper-realistic snout and these massive skin growths on the side of the jaw that mimic pig ears. The fixed gaze and discolored eyes add a truly disturbing dimension to the whole thing. It's the perfect example of what the imagination, or special effects, can create at its most extreme. Whether it's digital prosthetics like in this image, a human zebra, a solitary leopard man, or a catwoman, these journeys push us to think. These 7 people and the creators of such visuals have one thing in common. They looked at the human body and decided it was just a blank canvas to transform. We may be shocked, fascinated, or totally bewildered by these choices, but we cannot deny the radicalness of their freedom. And you, which transformation in this top impacted you the most? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to share this video if it surprised you, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming strange features. See you soon!